Castlekevin is one of the 4 Anglo-Norman masonry castles in Wicklow. The other 3, Black Castle in Wicklow Town, Arklow Castle, and Newcastle McGinnigan, are all in the lowlands, whereas Castlekevin is on the edge of the uplands. It was given manor status in 1216 when the Irish diocese of Glendalough was absorbed into the Anglo-Norman See of Dublin, with the Archbishop of Dublin the de facto lord of the manor. The intention was to keep the area as a protective buffer zone should there be problems with the local Irish. Castlekevin, Moat and Bailey, Castle and Holloway are all subject to preservation orders made under the National Monuments Act 1930 to 2014 and are also listed as recorded monuments, even though records show the castle as a ruin for nearly 400 years. Roundwood Historical Society were concerned that the actual castle was rapidly disappearing under unprecedented growth of vegetation and could be lost forever. The situation in 2021 was recorded as a video, including drone footage. This created renewed interest. In 2022, the Society were awarded a Community Monument Fund grant. This permitted a professional conservation feasibility study with the archaeologists using the latest non-invasive technology. The castle site seems slightly curious to us, but we are looking at it from the view of today's landscapes. Possibly there was an existing land. Pragmatism may have come into play. The castle is on a sandy ridge running east-west. To the north is a river with boggy marshland that extends east and west of the moat. In 1216, the marshes were more extensive, on at least 3 sides, providing great protection. The land rises on the south side to a small hill, Castlekevin Hill. This would have been wooded with a shrub underlay. The first iteration of the castle would have been wooded, and the area immediately around protected by a solid palisade, the bailey. It was the manor, and so had to have the presence and stature. It was where the courts were held, with appointed officers meting out justice, and collecting and setting rents. The castle had been through various different stages to cope with the changing needs. The first problems arose in the 1270s, when bad weather brought on bad harvests and caused unrests. In 1277, the castle was redeveloped and heavily fortified garrison. Accounts showed the cost of everything: nails, boards, canvas, and of course the food. That iteration lasted until 1309, when a further £800 was allocated. The accounts mention the use of stone for the first, stone quarriers employed. Lime was carried up from Newcastle McGinnigan until a lime kiln was built at the Castlekevin site. This work would seem to be the restructuring to give the shape as we see today. The castle was seized and re-seized in the many battles of the O'Toole and Byrne clans as the conquering authorities tried to colonise the uplands. In 1419, the castle was destroyed by the authorities, but the site finally recaptured in 1484 by Garrett Moore Fitzgerald. He refortified it in 1500. In 1513, Henry VIII gave Art Og O'Toole with the proviso that the castle may be kept in good repair. A record in 1636 states Castlekevin was waste and utter decay. This failure was one of the excuses to execute the 75-year-old Luke O'Toole in 1653. To visualise what the castle was like, we are dependent on Goddard Orpin's 1908 paper, with accurate descriptions, a photograph and sketch of the area. Inside, there is not much, a possible guardroom attached to the entrance gate. He speculated that there would have been a tower at each corner, with the entrance gates to the east, with possibly a drawbridge over the deep fosse surrounding the entry. This could be flooded to act as a moat. His photo up to the entrance gate shows the stone revetment of the fosse, typical of the medieval era. The 25-inch Ordnance Survey match shows the castle is 0.958 acres, circa 0.4 hectares. Other clues are found from Petrie's engraving in 1822, a solid steep-sided square castle with a high entrance gate and a virtual treeless landscape. The view of the bailey shows a large curved depression. The bailey today is relatively flat. Could this have been an artistic license that has been infilled in the last 100 years? Contemporary 6-inch Ordnance Surveys maps there was maybe a couple of buildings on the southern side of the castle. The Frizzle 1777 estate map seems to be accurate, with field boundaries and sizes, but the castle is a highly fanciful depiction, with turrets and flags, possibly based on recalled memories of the good times as told to grandchildren. So what did the 2022 surveys reveal? Confirmation of the known facts of the moat and bailey, showing with greater definition the extant banks and ditches surrounding the modified square moat with castle. The original moat was most likely pudding bowl shaped. The castle interior was difficult to interpret due to the massive vegetation. No geophysical work was possible due to the lack of access. The Bailey showed only a few geophysical anomalies, including possible archaeological insects, except for the large puce blob that may be the possible site of the lime kiln. What was unexpected was to the west of the moat, faint traces of possible earthworks in the field. In the southern part of the field, there appeared to be clearly divided plots running south to north. Could these be manorial brigage plots granted as incentives to attract settlers? In the northern portion, where the ground is more marshy, a number of complex low earthworks are visible. So in July 2023, a geophysical survey was done to the west of the moat. The results are still being analysed. Early view is there is more than meets the eye, but may also add further complexities. Could the earthworks be from a later date, say the early 1800s when Frizzell came to Castlekevin with his loyal retainers? Results throw up more questions than answers, but ongoing work at Newcastle and McGinnigan may also show some more contemporary medieval clues. The Society is deeply indebted to the Wicklow Community Archaeology Project, the Heritage Council, and Wicklow County Council through the County Heritage Plan that had awarded us the Community Monument Fund grant in 2022 and Heritage Council for a community grant in 2023. Without these grants, these discoveries would not have been possible by such a small group. It has been a very rewarding process working with such dedicated archaeologists Yvonne Whitty, Ivor Kenny, Dr. Pale Nasons, and Dr. Ger Dowling geophysical surveys. Thanks are also essential to the landowners Michael Fagan and Jimmy Jenkinson, on whose land Castlekevin sits. Access to the site was given freely. We dedicate this to the memory of John Medlicott, who kept the memory of Castlekevin alive for so many of us. May he rest in peace. We will sorely miss his wisdom, common sense, and wonderful humour.